Hi, welcome back to Epilepsy Moms. It's Summer, and my son has generalized epilepsy with tonic-clonic and absence seizures.
Hi, my name is Liz, and my daughter has focal epilepsy in her temporal lobe.
Hi, my name is Bree, and I am an early childhood education teacher.
We brought Bree today because we're going to do the topic of discipline and kids with epilepsy. And we want to be disciplining our kids the same way as our typical children, but sometimes there's some hardships or difficulties with doing that, or you might feel some guilt over disciplining those children. And so Bree is a specialist in conscious discipline. And so she's going to come today and give us some of her ideas and tips and just let us know what that style of discipline is all about and how we can use it in our homes. So Bree, would you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you started on your journey with conscious discipline and learning about that?
Yes, yeah. So I graduated college and got my bachelor's in elementary education and my minor in special education. And I really did my minor in special education because of the behaviors that came up in the classroom or the inclusion in the classroom and things like that. Like I knew being a teacher, I was going to come across children with A, behaviors or B, disabilities. And I was going to like set myself up for success by getting that as my minor. However, I am not in the district and I chose to be in an early learning center and I absolutely love it. And it's kind of what I was doing while I was in college, but now I'm a pre-K lead teacher and we really use conscious discipline or try our best to use conscious discipline in our classroom. And conscious discipline really is mostly about like social and emotional learning and helps build resilience in the home and in the classroom. Like most of the time it's used in the classroom, but it is encouraged, like we do encourage parents to take these like different skills and strategies and things like that into their home so that it is like across the board the same way that this child is kind of being treated or disciplined in a sense. And it's not really like while there is disciplines and things like that in conscious discipline, it's really focusing on like the safety, the connection, and the problem solving of the child. And something that I always say, and like to other staff members too, being in our classroom, I always say like connection before correction, because I feel like a child is not going to respond as positively to your correction of that behavior if you don't already have a connection with them. Like if you're just like, hey, stop doing that or whatever, not really knowing that child. Like if you think about substitute teachers too, like kids tend to act out more for a substitute teacher than they would their regular teacher because they don't really have a connection with that sub. It's someone random in their class usually.
Sure.
Things like that. So
We want to talk about like all different ages because she's got
yeah,
a teenage son
yeah,
versus me who has younger kids.
As a substitute teacher, you do definitely experience that. You're walking into a classroom you've never been in before. You don't know those
yeah.
kids, they don't know you,
Yeah.
and you
Mhm.
are put on the spot and you're not told like this child has this issue or you're going to have this
Exactly.
issue or you just walk in there blind. And so it's great to learn these kind of things, and I'm really excited to hear what you have to say. And also I love your what was the word you said? The connection.
Connection before correction.
Yes, I love
Yes.
that. That is so
Thank you.
great. It's so true. You
Yeah.
really have to have a connection. And even so, because I have a teen, we butt heads a lot because like
Mhm.
he's learning to do things his way and that he has his own power kind of and control over things. And I still want it done my way. And
Oh,
And
yeah.
he's your oldest too.
yes. And so I'm just learning how to deal with that. And I think it's so great because when we're connected and we're, able to do projects together or something together, then it works better when I'm like,
Yeah.
well, hey, I need you to do this. I need you to do this way. It works much better. He's much more agreeable to what I'm
Mhm.
saying if we're working well together in general. So I think it's so true. Yeah, it's important to be connected to your kids.
Yes.
What made you want to dive into more behaviored kids and actually start doing conscious discipline?
Okay. Yeah. So, I started at my last early childhood center that I was working at while I was in school. I had a lot of behavior problems, like a lot of behaviors in my class, and it was um, really hard to manage. And that's when conscious discipline was brought up. And Becky Bailey is like the founder of Conscious Discipline. She has a book, she has some podcasts, she has a lot of resources. Um, and she came to town to do a huge like training and kind of just show everybody what it's all about, and it was like a 2-part training. So that's when I first heard about it, and I went to this training and I was like, oh my gosh, this stuff is great. Like, I loved how it was because it kind of aligned with how I taught already. Like, I'm a very loving, nurturing, like kind, like very just, like I said, connection before correction. Like, I want to build those relationships, those connections with these children. And like, I don't want, when I'm correcting the behavior, I don't want them to feel that they've lost my love. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like a lot of times kids shut down because they are ashamed or embarrassed or whatever the case may be, when their behavior that they were displaying was like, it could have just been for attention, and they got that attention, but now they feel like you've not taken the love, but like they've lost your love. They're sad because they don't want you to be mad at them and things like that. So I feel like I really love working with children with behaviors because I feel like they are the ones that need the most love. They need the most, like, the most patience, the most love, the most like affection, I feel like, because that's what's going to set them up for success. And a lot of the behaviors are happening because they are lacking the attention. And so I try my best, like when I do see behaviors and things like that, I still do correct them. But then when I see that they're doing the right thing, I make sure to acknowledge that when I do see it. So that positive reinforcement and saying like, oh, Johnny, I see that you're sitting in your chair properly. Like, I love the way that all 4 legs of the chairs are on the ground safely. Great job. And a lot of things that I say in my class are kiss your brain. Because they're 5 and they love it. And so I'm always like, oh, kiss your brain. And then
She made me kiss my brain the other day.
Yeah, I do it all the time. And
She's like, Liz, kiss your brain.
Yes.
And I was like,
I think you remember to clock Cameron in or something.
I did. That's
something like that. I was like, well, great job. Yeah. So that is like the biggest reason why I wanted to work with children with behaviors. And I feel like there's not enough teachers in the world. And not only like not enough teachers in the world, but like not enough teachers that want to teach preschool and have enough patience to A, do conscious discipline in the classroom, and B, be a preschool teacher, because it is really hard. Like, some kids aren't wearing shoes, or you know what I mean? Like, there are crazy things happening all the time. It's not like a traditional classroom. We don't have desks to sit in and things like that.
I wonder, does conscious discipline have consequences and like rewards? And because typically I feel like that's what we do. We're like, well, if you do it right, here's your reward. You're doing it wrong, like we're going to take something away, or we're going to, you know, something not fun is going to happen to you. So what happens there?
Yeah. So with conscious discipline, they do use consequences, but first they you really focus on building the foundation of the child's safety, connection, social and emotional skills, because what conscious discipline's like idea is like needing to have all of those skills and the proper skill set to like really digest and understand what the discipline is, if that makes sense. So it does use consequences, but it might be, oh, your consequence is you chose to throw the marker when we've already talked about writing with the marker. So now we're putting the marker away, if that makes sense. So I think it just depends on what you want to do and how far you want to take it. Like, another thing too is like conscious discipline is, I don't know a lot of parents that actually use it in the house, like on a day-to-day basis. Before this, I was telling Liz, like, conscious discipline takes a lot of patience, and I'm getting paid to have these patients, and also I get to go home to no children. So I feel like in a way I have it easy because I get to go home and I'm not having to do conscious discipline 24/7 my entire life, you know?
I do know that my friend and her boss basically she uses a lot of conscious discipline in her home, and you can actually see the differences of like their communication, of a lot of the things that she uses, and their patience level is a little bit different also. So it's very interesting. Like I do wish that more parents would almost provide it more in their home. And I wish I worked on it more, but I also don't know a lot about it. So that's why
Yeah.
I'm glad that I'm bringing you
Mhm.
guys on, or that I'm bringing you on, that we can actually maybe start using it.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like the main point of conscious discipline really is like that social and emotional learning and like being able to name, identify, and regulate their emotions, because how is any child, if they don't know how to do those things, how are they going to be able to problem solve? How are they going to get to the root of the problem and actually find a solution for this problem if they don't know why they're upset already? What Liz was talking about with my boss's children was her son was in my class the other day and he was upset. Like somebody kicked the ball over the fence and he was using that ball. So he was angry, but instead of like screaming, "You kicked my ball over the fence," and like letting that child have it, he walked away and said, "Miss Bree, I need some space. I'm upset my ball went over the fence." And he went in the corner and he was doing balloon breathing and he was able to like regulate his emotions. And I said, "You know what? When you need me, let me know. I'm willing to come talk with you. If you need a hug, let me know." And then he came over and was like, "I'm okay now. Can I have a hug?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course you can have a hug." And we hugged it out. And then he went to go play and he was totally fine. But it's like acknowledging that he needed to take a break. And we have a safe place in our classroom too. That's like in the classroom where that is a station that they can do these things at and like take a breather. Everybody knows there's one person in that center. That center is to calm your body, and there are lots of tools in there for them to use. But like actually seeing these children utilize that center and use it appropriately to help them calm down and like regulate their emotions is really awesome to see. And I feel like
Well,
that
he's
is
only 7.
yeah, yeah. And
Like,
a lot
it's
of the
not like
kids,
he's old.
Cameron uses it in our classroom too.
Right.
If he's upset, or like sometimes I'll have to remind them and say, "You know, if your body's really upset right now, would you like to go to the safe place? And would you like Miss Bree to come with you, or do you want to go by yourself?" And so I always make sure they know that I will go there with them. I can help them use the tools in the safe place. We can read a story together. But I think that the main, like, the biggest concept of it is that social emotional learning. And because also like if they're acting out or they have a behavior, then they might be able to tell you why they did that, you know, like, why did you do this behavior? Why was that an appropriate choice, kind of thing.
So I was going to say,
Okay.
I mean, that really is such a good example of son saying that, because that's so mature and so grown up. Like I don't hear any of my kids say that, and mine are older than that. So I think that really goes to show that it does make a difference. And then I was going to say about your safe place. I think that's such a great idea. And rather than having like, you know, here's your timeout spot at home, why not have, here's your safe spot?
Yep.
So we have a safe spot for my daughter. I was gonna say her name. So we have a safe spot for my daughter. And I love it. She and I even have one outside on my patio, and it's her quiet zone. We call it her quiet space or her safe space or whatever she wants to call it. And it is for her and her alone. And she has tools and things that she can use in it.
Different things that I like have in my safe place in my classroom are like those little fidget poppers, so that they like, if they're anxious or missing mom, like that's a lot of the things too. Like they're upset, they want to go calm down in the safe place, so they're using the poppets. Or I have these like stretchy tubes that stretch really far and they can connect to others, and then they can squish them back down. We have weighted stuffed animals. I have different like lava lamp things that you turn upside down. They're not really lava lamps, but they're the same idea. And just like a lot of different tools to keep their hands busy, and like feeling buddies. So there's, oh, this is my favorite one. There's feeling buddies, and they're hung up in our safe place, and each buddy has a spot, and there's the emotion on the buddy. They just look like little gingerbread men, but they're stuffed animals, and they just have faces. They don't have any clothes on, nothing like that. They just have faces. So each feeling buddy has an emotion, so there's like scared or sad, and so they know that like they can have a feeling buddy, they can walk around the classroom with it, or they can have that feeling buddy in the safe place with them. And then sometimes I'll go in and check on them and say, "Oh, I see that you have a sad feeling buddy. Are you feeling sad today? Like, do you want Miss Bree to stay and talk about it? Do you want me to leave? Whatever." And then sometimes when they're feeling happy, they'll trade it out and have the happy feeling buddy and play with it for a little bit in the safe place, and then put it back and go back to centers. So, but it's really like, another thing that I have in there, sorry, is my pinwheels. So they're pinwheels and they look like flowers. So they smell the pinwheel, and then below the pinwheel so that they're taking those deep breaths through their nose, out through their mouth. And I also have like yoga poses on the door, a lot of different things for them to like really work out this emotion, like whether they're angry or sad or whatever it may be, there's something in there for them to use to help regulate their emotions.
And I think going along with epilepsy, that's a great thing. If a trigger is stress, like what a great thing to do. Like we'll go to your safe spot and you can do these things that will de-stress. Like you can still be thinking about what it is that's bothering you, but you're using your hands and like holding on to something. I would also say, so the pinwheel is a good example of one that I wouldn't put in my safe spot because my son, that triggers his like blowing can trigger his absent seizures. So I wouldn't put that in my safe spot. So definitely know your child and what's good for them.
Yeah, because like in ours, it wouldn't be a big deal for us. Yeah. Wow. I like it because it just gives them, you know, like, so like even after she's had like lots of seizures and we're just having a rough day, she's really tired. She likes to go to that area just because it's like her quiet zone. Like even though it's right next to her bed, it's still a different area in her room that she can just kind of just take a deep breath and just relax in that zone because she's not going to, I don't know. It's just different than being upstairs with the family or, whatever. And it actually it's teaching her to calm her body down, to get in her own kind of zone. Yeah. And I love that about it.
Yeah. I think like self-regulating, right? They're learning to self-regulate. Yeah. Take some time to get control of their emotions before they go back to the situation.
We're so worried about people's emotions these days, and it's just, I think we should be, but how does that work?
So I feel like if you are like, say your discipline mechanism is spanking, and that's like instilling fear into your child in a sense, like to be like, oh, when dad comes home, what's going to happen? You're going to get a spanking because of whatever you did earlier. And that's like, not to say that's what every parent that spanks does or anything like that, but the whole point of conscious discipline is the first tier is like safety and that child feeling safe. And no, they're not unsafe getting a spanking, but they might feel unsafe. Like, what's going to happen? I'm going to get a spanking. I don't like how that makes me feel. And like, also, it's not really like a consequence if it's happening hours and hours and hours after, like as young as 4 years old, like the kids that I'm working with, 4 and 5, they might forget what they did during nap time or right before nap time and wake up from nap not knowing like, oh, I'm gonna get in trouble when I go home tonight because of A, B, C, and D. But there's a really great quote from Becky Bailey's book about conscious discipline, and it says, how you respond to your child's upset teaches her or him how to respond to the upset of others. And I feel like if you're responding with anger or instilling fear into your child, like they're not going to know how to deal with others being upset, or like if they're not going to be able to calmly address a situation that is either that person's upset with them or they're upset with the other person. And I feel like really modeling what you expect your child to do in those situations, and not for every circumstance, I'm sure, but, and like I said, like I'm only doing it in the classroom 8 or 9 hours a day. I get to go home to no children. Like I don't know how this would be in a parent's shoes. But that is what the quote from Becky Bailey, that really sat with me, because especially with this question, because it's true. It's like if that's what the child is seeing, like, oh, I stood up on the table and my mom started screaming at me or spanked me or whatever, I'll never stand on the table again, but I don't know, that's a very silly example, but I feel like instead we could go with, hey, why are you standing on the table? Like, remember, where do our feet belong? And things like that, really gently, like, and maybe ask, like, what if they're standing on the table to get a cup, or trying to be helpful, and like, no, that's not necessarily helpful because it's not safe to be on the table. But then that's a teaching moment that you can teach that child, like, hey, this is why it's not safe. This is why this made me upset. I was worried that maybe you would fall, or you have a glass in your hand, falling off the table and having a glass. What if that broke? That could cut your hand. And really like teaching them why these things aren't okay. And then if it's applicable, like giving them a replacement behavior in what they could do instead. Hey, next time a safer option would be to get a chair or ask mom for help, you know? So yeah.
Yeah, those are great examples and really good ideas. I think as a parent with multiple kids, that's where it gets difficult because like I feel like we want to implement all those kinds of things. And then when you have multiple kids, like pouring over cups of water, whatever.
Just goes over it's like
it gets
in one ear and out the other.
But
Stop doing what I did.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
it's still a really good goal and like a really good thing for us to try, especially if you have a child with a certain behavior that's happening over and over again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I have an example for you, and maybe you can help me with. So
I have one too. So I'm next.
I do have a teen, but I also have a toddler, and she does not want to brush her teeth. Like she does not want to do it. And so what I've done is I've tried just like, we have to get this done. Like, I don't have time. I'm exhausted. I just open your mouth and we're going to do it. And I do it and she screams through it. She hates it. And then I've also done like, okay, well, you're not opening your mouth and brushing your teeth. You're going to have to go to timeout for 3 minutes. And we'll do that. And she is so stubborn. She's not like one of those kids that
strong-willed.
Right. She's strong-willed. You come back after 3 minutes and you're like, I put you in timeout because you did not brush your teeth. You need to apologize and go brush your teeth. And she's like, help me say sorry. I can't say sorry. Like, help. So I'm like, okay, you're in timeout again because I know you can say sorry. So, and she is
winning you. Like
she is winning. So what are some ways that I could use conscious discipline in that situation?
Okay, so another thing that's like super that I love about conscious discipline too is like a lot of conscious discipline is choices and like not necessarily giving in to the child, but kind of meeting them halfway and like really like you obviously want the child to brush their teeth and I don't know what, maybe she just doesn't want to brush her teeth, maybe I don't know what.
Winning.
Yeah, but
she knows it makes you mad.
Finding different ways to like get what you want, but also what she wants. So is there like something that she wants to be doing instead, or does she just not want to brush her teeth?
She probably just wants to play with her brothers, but she just doesn't want. I think she just because she'll be like, well, after I play with brothers, after I do this, after I do that.
Make them do it together.
I was gonna say you could have them do it together, or a lot of verbiage that I use in my classroom. That's another thing that I love is like I could be using conscious discipline without like trying to use it. And what I mean by that is like first we do this, then we do this. So first we brush our teeth, then we play with our brothers. And you could even like, I don't know if you've tried letting her brush her teeth first, and no, that's not going to be the most effective way to do it. First you brush your teeth, then mommy brushes your teeth. So, or you can brush your teeth by yourself and then I can do it, or I can brush your teeth and we do it one time. And like just providing different choices, and it might not work and it's going to be a while, I feel like, especially to children who aren't experienced and like knowing what conscious discipline is and like, whoa, my mom's acting different, or this is weird, I've never been offered these choices.
Right? Like, it's a trick.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, I don't know how I feel about this. But I don't know. I feel like those things might. I could be making this up, but I feel like there could be toothpaste out there that puts black things where your plaque is.
Oh, that's a mouthwash.
Fun. Yeah, I was gonna say, so it might be fun. Can you get all the germs to disappear so she can see it? And like,
there's a mouthwash.
You're not all done brushing yet. Or like maybe like a timer, like. She won't know she's trying to beat the timer, but you could do like a 3-minute timer or something. This is how long we need to brush our teeth. Let's see how fast we can do it or something like that.
Yeah.
Or she thinks like she's like racing the timer, but really she's brushing her teeth for 2 minutes or whatever it might be. Kind of like, I wouldn't say tricking, but like in a way, like I just try and do it to make it more fun.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and like, and kind of like their idea too. So that's another thing that I do is like offering the choices. Do you want to clean up your center now, or do you want to wait until your friends are outside at recess? You know, like that's not a fun choice. Obviously, they're going to choose. They want to clean it up now. And a lot of times too, I offer help. Like I can help you do it, or you can do it by yourself, or you can ask a friend for help, kind of thing. So like really giving them choices, but choices that you would be okay with them choosing. So obviously we don't have to brush your teeth. You know what I mean? She's going to choose
Right.
that, obviously.
That's
But
the
Well, and I feel
answer.
like with me, I can't be like, oh, do you want me to help you clean your room? Because of course he'll be like, yeah, you help me clean my room. And then I'll be like the only one cleaning the room.
so that's when
I don't do that one.
when I'm helping them clean up their toys, I always say like, I'm here to help you, but I will not do it for you. So I put
Right.
one in, and if they're not putting 3 in after me, I stop helping. And I'm like, I'll wait until your hands are helping my hands clean up the toys. And so kind of just like a lot of it is like will, like how much are you willing to wait it out in a way? Because like I can wait all day. Like I'm getting paid to do this. You know what I mean? Like I can sit here and be like, oh yes, we can sit in the safe place. We can calm down. We can go clean up our toys but like as a parent, you have things to do. You know what I mean? Like you might be on your way out the door to go to school and this is happening. Like those situations might look a lot different. It will look a lot differently to a parent than it would for me.
Sure.
But what I found is like really choice and allowing them to like feel like it makes them feel like they have power. And I feel like that's what a lot of kids are missing. It's like they don't feel like they're what is that saying that's like kids are meant to be seen, not heard, or something like that. That's so ridiculous that I'm like, okay, how are we going to help these children be successful adults if we're saying they're to be looked at and not to be heard? Like, I don't care what you have to say. I'm just looking at you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So really just like making them feel like they have some sort of power, like something is their choice instead of being like, no, you do it this way, my way now. Another thing that I do is like timers. Like, okay, when this 2-minute timer is done, we're done playing with our brothers and it's time to brush our teeth. You can do it or I can help you, which works best for you. And that's another thing that is engraved in my head. The first we do this, then we do this, or we can set a timer and then this, and the which works best for you. That is what's engraved in my head. Which works best for you, and then renaming the options A or B, and like telling them again, these are the 2 options. And if they choose one that's not an option that I said, I'm like, okay, Miss Bree's going to say the options again. I said you could do this or you could do this. Which works best for you? And then if they don't choose either of those options, then I just say, okay, let me know when you're ready to choose the options that I gave you. Right now, this is what we're doing or whatever. But I don't give in to them by saying, no, I want to now. It's not time for me to nap, because it is time for nap. That's what's scheduled in our day. And I think that a lot of it too with behaviors is routine and knowing like what to expect. So again, with the timers, like I always do a 10-minute timer warning, like between any transition. So I say pre-K 1, 2, and then they say eyes on you. And then I set a timer, like, so it's visual and they can hear me too. We have 10 more minutes until it's time to clean up, to go outside. And then I do it again in 5 minutes so that they have a 5-minute warning. Hey, take a look at our timer. It's halfway gone. We have 5 more minutes until it's time to clean up, to go outside. So that, because I've noticed a lot of behaviors during transitions, they don't know what's coming. They don't know when my assistant or whatever teacher, when I come in for my break, it's like, all right, Miss Bree's back. It's time to clean up, to go outside. That is pure chaos.
Yeah, it's just stress.
And they're like freaking out, like, oh my gosh, my teacher's back. We're going outside right now. I'm going to miss recess. I'm going to get in trouble, like whatever the case is. So I give them that time. And a lot of times, honestly, like, at that 5-minute warning, a lot of kids are like, I want to clean up early. So then they're ready to go outside. Like, I don't have to deal with that. Hey, time's ticking. We're ready to go outside. What are you doing? Kind of thing. But yeah, I noticed like timers and announcing when there's going to be a transition or when we're going to be leaving the classroom, when there's going to be a change, has helped a lot of behaviors in our class because they know what's coming.
And I also read a book on, it's called You Can't Make Me, But I Can Be Persuaded. And it's one of the best books, and I think I've talked to you about it, Summer, is because in that book she actually talks about, so with your daughter, how strong-willed she is. There is actually a moment in the book where she's like, okay, the 2 minutes are up. It's time to go. Like you've given the warning, and so it works really well for strong-willed kids. But anyway, so my youngest, he will walk on our banister. And it is so unsafe. And I want to like pull my hair out. The first time he did it, did get in trouble. He got a consequence and it was timeout, I think it was. And I had explained to him, like, that is unsafe. That is not a good option for you.
That's another thing that's like constantly talked about is like you as a teacher or parent keeping your composure and then dealing with it and like really just keeping a straight face, because sometimes, like, obviously not that situation,
Right.
like he was not trying to get a reaction out of you, but sometimes like kids are trying to get a reaction and they think it's funny when we get mad, you know. So we're not gonna let them think it's funny, we're not
Sure.
gonna let them see that we're upset or whatever. But in that situation, like, that is really scary. And your youngest son like climbing on the banister, it's like, it's scary because that is so high up, and like it
really
stinks
high.
that it's not a little bit lower. And I don't, this is probably not conscious discipline I'm saying this, but like natural consequences still
Right.
need to happen, you know. Like, we're running or not wearing shoes on our bike, so I hit my toes on the tire, that really hurt. Next time I'm not going to wear sandals, or I'm
Right.
not going to be barefoot, I'm going to wear regular shoes. Like,
Right.
natural consequences just work for us as humans in general.
Right.
But for that and the safety of him, like, the only thing that I could really think of off the top of my head right now is like building a safe option for him to balance and do the same concept, just lower to the ground, and saying, when you want to balance like this, tell me with your words, because being up here, this is not safe. If you fall, and like, this would be messy, but you could do like an egg in a Ziploc bag and like have him throw it off the banister, see what happens. Like, this is like, this could
is
be
your
your
head.
head.
Yeah.
Drop it,
That's
see
a
what
good idea.
happens. And
Science experiment.
our head cracks. And that's, I
Yeah.
tell them all the time when they're like, kids are climbing on furniture in my classroom, Miss Bree helps your bodies and your brains grow. I cannot fix broken bones. I'm not a doctor, I'm a teacher. I'm here to help your brains and body grow and things like that. But they know, like, when I tell them, hey, is that safe? And they're like, oh, you can't fix my broken bones. Like, that's what your son says all the time. Miss Bree can't fix my broken bones. So he gets off the play structure, like however he was, and gets down. And I'm like, you're right. I can't fix your broken bones. Is that safe? No. Are you ready to be safe? Yeah. I'm like, okay, then you can be on the play
So maybe
set.
I'll say that next time.
Yeah.
I'll be like, I can't fix broken bones.
Yeah. Is mom a doctor? No.
Get down.
Yeah. And that's what, when he had scissors in my class that one day and tried to cut someone's hair, I said, you are not a hairdresser. If you want to be a hairdresser like your mommy one day, you can be.
That
You
kid
can
had,
practice at home with mom, if mom lets
you're out
you.
your mind, woman.
But using scissors in our classroom is to cut papers or yarn.